I've invented something. I call it the horseless carriage. Now, I know you all like your horses and you like your carriages and you like that whole lifestyle, but I think you're going to really like this. Just give it a shot. I think this is going to catch on. Onward! Last year I told you why you shouldn't buy this mower, and it's almost entirely because of the batteries. For whatever reason, Ryobi decided to put lead-acid batteries in this thing, and after a mere 1 year of using this, it lost enough capacity where I couldn't mow my entire yard on a single charge. Now, after another year of service, that's 2 years total for you keeping track at home, the batteries have lost so much capacity I can't even get through a third of my yard on a single charge. And they're so weak, this mower now bogs down on the thinnest of grass. These batteries are toast, and it's time for an upgrade. It's time to give this thing proper lithium batteries. You know, like Ryobi should have done from the beginning. Oh, I found the controllers. I was going to say this might be easy. Let's get it off before I say that. Alright, there's lots of observations here, but first of all, kudos to Ryobi. Taking this thing apart was super easy. All of the fasteners were exactly the same, no different ones at all, none of them were hidden. It was just easy, straightforward, and sensical. I like that. Before taking all the plastic cladding off, I was worried the lithium batteries I chose wouldn't fit in here, but I seem to have been worried about nothing, because this thing is 90% battery. This takes up so much space. Anyway, rest of it. Here's the main high voltage disconnect. There's a main high voltage fuse here. This is some sort of controller box for the charge port that was sitting right here. You got your main contactor, little DC to DC converter over here, control board. You can see the little dampers for the control arms, and right up here in a row is all of the brushless motor controllers. You got 3 little ones for the motors on the deck and then 2 big ones for the drive motors. This thing is really simple and I really, really appreciate it. This DC to DC converter here that steps the 48 volts down to 12 volts, I instantly recognized it because I didn't think it had one. I didn't think it had any sort of 12 volt circuitry on it at all. So for the conversion, I bought one myself. Here's the DC to DC converter on the mower from the factory, and here's the one I bought off Amazon. I bought a random one off Amazon, and it happens to be pretty much a direct replacement. It's got the bolt holes in the same place and everything. I appreciate the simplicity of this design and the use of off-the-shelf components in a lot of different places, but it also irritates me because they're still charging $5,000 for this mower with batteries that are going to turn into bricks in a matter of a couple of years. Now, they do sell a new electric zero-turn with proper lithium batteries, but that's $7,000 for the 54-inch deck variant. Ryobi! Stop price gouging! That's ridiculous. These mowers are not worth that much money. If they were the same price as equivalently spec gas mowers, they'd probably outsell them. But now they're almost double the price. Stop it! Okay, it's clear now. Ryobi wanted me to take this apart. Everything, all of the wires are labeled. Even down here in the bodywork and all over, everything is labeled. There's no question of what anything is. This is amazing. One little annoyance I got to turn on, but it won't turn on if I disconnect the charge port. So there must be some sort of high voltage interlock or something in the charge port that keeps it from turning on without that connected. So that'll be a little issue to work through. Charging controller. Well, that answers what that is. Long bolt. Yeah! Holy crap. It's worth noting, these batteries are on a slide-out tray. You take off the bumper, there's a grab handle on the tray. It's mounted on some slippery plastic rails so it slides out easily. These batteries were designed to be replaced and replaced easily. Of course, the problem is Ryobi didn't advertise that it has lead-acid batteries. They didn't advertise that you're going to have to replace them every couple of years. And what happens when you got a guy, just an ordinary person, doesn't know anything about battery chemistry, walks into Home Depot, plops down $5,000 on a mower and has to replace the battery after a couple of years? That's how you ruin brand reputations. What batteries are going in the mower? What took you so long to ask? These are 3 modules I pulled out of one of my spare Kodas last year. Most of the modules out of that battery pack were 6 cells in series like this one, but the 2 modules at the back of the pack where it was narrower are 5 in series, which is perfect because these 3 strung together gives me a 16S configuration, bringing my nominal voltage of the whole pack to 51.2 volts. Perfect to replace the 48 volt pack that I pulled out of the mower. These 3 modules make up 4.8 kilowatt hours of total energy. The lead acid pack I pulled out of the mower when it was new, it's nowhere near this now, but when it was new, was nameplate rated to 5.5 kilowatt hours. But that's not entirely true, because they're lead-acid batteries. As state of charge declines, so does the voltage, pretty dramatically. So below about 50% state of charge or so, they don't have anywhere near the power they did when they were fully charged. And if you drop them below 20% state of charge, it damages them. So it's not really 5.5 kilowatt hours. Realistically, this is more capacity than the mower originally had. Real quick, these are lithium iron phosphate cells, which is different from other lithium chemistries, which I'm going to lump into a big group called lithium ion. These operate at 3.2 volts nominal, lithium ion is 3.6. These are more resilient, they're stable, they're more fireproof, they're longer lasting in terms of cycle life and just overall life expectancy. They can be charged to 100% repeatedly without degradation, unlike lithium ion. They're cheaper to make, and they don't have the rare minerals nickel, cobalt, manganese, and some other things. They only have lithium in them. The one downside of lithium iron phosphate is that it's less energy dense. Modern LFP cells are about 2/3 the energy density of equivalent lithium ion, but these are 12 years old, so they're even less than that. That's right, these are 12 years old, and they haven't been charged for at least 8 of those years, and all of the battery cells are at exactly the same voltage. These are rock-solid batteries. All electric mowers should use lithium iron phosphate batteries, but none of them do. They use more energy-dense lithium-ion cells. They're charged to 100% their entire life. They have no active cooling, and they die quickly. But you know who does use lithium iron phosphate batteries? Today's sponsor, the Anker 757 Portable Power Station by Anker. Oh no, not another solar generator. This isn't just another solar generator. This one's special, and we'll get to why later. But first, the basics. This beautiful little box has 1.5 kilowatts of AC output with 6 outlets, 4 USB-A ports, 2 USB-C ports, a 12-volt car socket right here that I just stuck my finger into because I'm an idiot. Good thing it wasn't turned on. And 1.2 kilowatt hours of battery storage. Oh, and you can't forget the light, which you can barely see because it's the middle of the day. The built-in screen tells you state of charge, input and output watts, and some other stuff. How do you power it? Well, there's several ways. The 757 comes with 3 ways to... That's not 3. 3 ways to charge in the box. It comes with a 12-volt car adapter so you can trickle charge it from your car. I'm doing it right now. I'm getting 110 watts from my huge battery going into this little one. You can charge it from the sun. This thing accepts up to 300 watts of solar panel input. Do please note that holding up a solar panel like a weirdo in the middle of a parking lot is optional. And if it means anything to you, this does solar charging via MPPT rather than PWM. If that doesn't mean anything to you, it just means it charges more efficiently. And of course, you can charge it from a regular old wall outlet. And if you do so, this thing pulls a whole kilowatt from the wall, so it can go from 0 to 80% in just an hour. Fully charged in 1.2 hours. What can you use it for? I mean, just about anything, really. It's got 1.5 kilowatts of AC output, which can power just about anything, including this incredibly power-hungry ceramic heater. It's going no problem. And like I said earlier, it's got these 6 USB ports and the 12-volt car socket. This thing could charge your phone like a billion times. This light on here could run for basically infinity, and it can charge the largest battery MacBook Pro over a dozen times before it itself would need recharging. And the best part about this 757, the battery chemistry. This thing uses lithium iron phosphate just like what I'm putting in my mower, and it has the same benefits here. Much higher life expectancy than other lithium chemistries at 3,000 cycles, and it likes to be charged to 100% all the time. Other lithium chemistries, that'll shorten their lifespan, not with this. Portable power like this is incredibly useful. For instance, last year I took a road trip in my pickup where I was too cheap to get hotels, so I slept in the back of my pickup and used this little ceramic heater powered off of one of these guys to keep warm at night. And during the day while I was driving, I trickle charged it off the 12-volt car socket. If you'd like to check out the Anker 757 for yourself, click the link in the description below this video and get access to an exclusive $150 off coupon. Thanks again to Anker for sponsoring this video. Now back to the mower. Now you can't just drop lithium cells where lead acid batteries were designed to go hook everything up and it'll all be good. There's some stuff you have to change, but first, I need to make these physically fit because as of right now, they don't. Okay, that was much easier than I thought it was going to be. I had to rotate this battery module this way. I had to put this one on its side, but they all fit. This one's a little bit longer than the tray is wide, so it's sitting on top of the tray. And I've got all of these modules sitting on a little foam pad. It's just an anti-fatigue mat from Harbor Freight, and this one's sitting on a double layer of that, but that's it. I've already got them lashed down and everything. Lithium batteries need a BMS, battery management system, in order to prevent the batteries from being overcharged, over-discharged, and to keep all the cells balanced to the same voltage. There's lots of cheap and easy options that are perfectly fine on Amazon, eBay, and any number of other sites. But since I enjoy this sort of thing, and since I got my batteries for free, I overdid it a little bit and got full-on EV components from Thunderstruck Motors. This is the MCU, Master Control Unit from Thunderstruck. It combines their BMS controller and their EV charge controller, yes, I'm going to be using their charger as well, into one unit. And this is the BMS satellite with 18 cell inputs. As you can see, I've been busy. I've got all the modules wired up. Any day I get to use the hydraulic crimper is a good day. And I've got all of the balance leads run to the individual cell groups and centralized into this harness that plugs into the BMS satellite unit. Now I need to make a plate that mounts on top of this module to mount all of my componentry. Now, it has occurred to me that it is so clear it doesn't look like there's polycarbonate here, but I assure you there is. One downside of going with the MCU is it needs a permanent 12-volt supply that the mower doesn't have. There's no 12-volt battery in it. So I've decided I'm going to put a 12-volt battery in it. It might as well be lead acid. That's why I put another step-down converter on here. It's just to keep this battery charged, and I want to keep the two 12-volt electrical systems separate. This state of charge indicator was pretty useless to begin with, but now with a different battery chemistry it won't work at all, so I got this replacement, which, gotta say, more than a passing resemblance. It even has a very similar connector on the back. Not the same, but similar. Anyway, this new one communicates over CAN to the BMS. It'll give me state of charge, min, max, pack voltages, the whole pack voltage, and a bunch of other stuff. All right, I wired up everything off camera because wiring on camera is boring. I've got the BMS connected to all the individual cell leads and communicating to the MCU. The MCU is connected to 12 volts power and ground to this little tiny battery here. The CAN high and low go to the state of charge indicator I just showed you. And these two output leads are the output from the MCU that trigger when either the key is on or it's charging, and they activate the DC to DC relay here to turn this guy on to charge this battery. So this battery will be charged when the mower is either on or charging. I've got this relay here triggered by the key on the mower that goes to the key switch input on the MCU, and I think that's it. Let's turn everything on. The MCU blinked. Now let's plug this in. Turn the key on, listen for contactors and relays. Ooh. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Okay, I didn't figure out the blinking yet, but I found so many things I did wrong. What kind of idiot zip ties all the wiring in place before testing it? Shut up. Both of these relays are rated for 12 volts. I've got 48 volts going through them. I thought, oh, that'll be fine. It wasn't. This one melted pretty quickly. And I've got the outputs wired wrong. I totally misinterpreted what out 5 and out 5 12 volt meant, and I've got them switched to nothing, so they don't work. I need to rewire that. But in positive news, I got the MCU connected to the serial interface, and I've been fiddling around with the settings. And you know how I said all the cells that are exactly the same voltage? They're within 1/1000th of a volt of each other. I am an idiot and I keep making mistakes. This is the second DC to DC converter that I've had on here because the first one, when I had that accidental shorting thing, because I had it wired backwards, I killed it. So I ordered this one, I just put it on there, and this battery ground right here floated too close to the battery. You might even be able to see the char marks here, and killed this one too. So I ordered a third one. If Amazon didn't have one-day shipping, this would take a whole week. All right, you joined me days later. I can't believe how annoying this wiring has been. I've killed two DC to DC converters. I've completely reconfigured the wiring. Here, let me show you. The initial setup was 12-volt battery, DC to DC converter to charge that 12-volt battery, and the DC to DC converter was turned on and off by an output from the MCU. That setup proved to be so difficult to implement that I got rid of the 12-volt battery entirely, and now this DC to DC converter, which you'll notice is much smaller than the one I had before, is just permanently connected to the 48-volt battery and feeding 12 volts to this whole system here. Will it drain the 48-volt battery? Yes, but extremely slowly, so I'm okay with that. And my state of charge indicator doesn't work. There's a good chance that I killed it. Like I said, I killed the two DC to DC converters that came before this by accidentally shorting them with the 48-volt battery, and this was connected to the same circuit as those when that happened. So I probably killed this. So for right now, I don't have a state of charge indicator. I do have this alarm, and I've hooked it up to one of the outputs on the MCU, and I have it triggered when either there's a low cell voltage or low pack voltage. So this is the only state of charge I get right now. Charger. I can't use the stock charger that came with the mower. It said for lead acid profiles and charging voltages, it won't work. So I've got a new charger, and again, I went overboard. This is the TSM 2500 charger from Thunderstruck Motors. This is a proper EV charger. Now the charger that came with the mower, I've measured it. It can deliver about 300, 350 watts to charge the batteries. This one could do 2,500. And of course, I got it with a J1772 port, so I can use any EV charger, including public ones. I could rock up to public charging stations in my mower and juice up. Now, of course, the tricky part is, where do I put this? Unfortunately, while I do have enough space right here on top of this module to mount this charger, and it even clears the plastic cover that goes on top of it, I can't put it here because this is an air-cooled charger and the plastic cover would go less than an inch over the top of it, restricting the airflow and potentially causing the charger to overheat. So instead, I'm going to mount it on the back of the mower right about here. Yes, I'm going to have an ugly charger-looking wart on the back of my mower. No, I don't care that much. Okay, I care a little bit, but this is where it's going. There we go. I mean, it's waterproof and dustproof and everything, so there's no problem with it being mounted to the back. By the way, if you're wondering why I mounted the charger off to the side and not centered, it's because the hitch is right there. I actually use it, and I didn't want the charger above the hitch and obstructing usage of it. I've got the charge port all wired up. Load, neutral, ground, proximity, and pilot. Uh-oh. That hole needs to be bigger. Crap. That happened instantly. Is it even feasible for me to... No, because it can just pull through. I just made a big ugly hole. All this is a light that flashes to indicate that it's charging. That's it. That's what this mistake was. Okay, off camera, I finished up the wiring. Everything's just kind of slapped together in place right now, but together, for the first time on camera, we're going to test the charging and see if it works. It's just a 110 EVSE. Let's plug it in, see if it says charging, see if this light blinks, see if the charger comes on. I'm nervous. Nothing's happening. Okay, I checked the wiring and it seemed to be fine, and then I read through the manual and found a warning in there written in red that said the charge port and the MCU must be connected to the same ground in order for the proximity and the pilot to communicate properly. I didn't know that before, so I've added a chassis ground for both the J1772 and the MCU, and let's try it again. I don't expect it to be that simple, but let's be optimistic. Oh, oh. Ah! It's a charging! Welcome to my dark garage. I've temporarily evicted my Polestar back there so I can watch my mower charge. How exciting is that? I want to monitor everything while this charges to 100% for the first time, make sure all the settings are right and it doesn't overcharge, and et cetera, et cetera. And I want to do it in here because the EVSE I have installed in here has a display that shows the current readout, so I can at a glance see how much power it's pulling from the wall. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to watch a mower charge for about 30 minutes. All right, it's the next day. I've just finished mowing my yard and it's done it all in one charge. How novel. Mowing the yard took me an hour. The grass was pretty overgrown, so this thing was working pretty hard. And according to the MCU's voltage-based estimate, I used 10% of the battery to mow the whole yard. I don't believe that number. That seems impossible. Before I started mowing, the average cell voltage was 3.33 volts, and after I finished, it was 3.25 volts. So, yes, I gave this mower enough battery capacity. Frankly, it lasted so long that it makes me want to keep mowing until the battery dies, but I don't have enough yard for that. You may have noticed from some of the images I just showed you that I started out with 84% indicated state of charge. That's because I had troubles charging this thing last night. I had a couple of the cell banks rise above the rest of the pack and kept hitting the high voltage cutoff while the rest of the pack was still at 3.4-ish volts. So I couldn't get it 100% fully charged. Later on, I'll play around with different high voltage cutoffs and top balancing, etc., and just fiddle around with it, and maybe I can get 100% charge. But really, it doesn't matter because I've got so much capacity in here, apparently, that I can mow my yard 2 times or 3 times over on one charge. And I'm happy to report that performance is back up to where it was when it was new. This year, with the lead-acid batteries being completely toast, this thing was so weak it was practically unusable. Now it's back to where it was when I bought it brand new. Though to be fair, it's still underpowered. But it's still perfectly usable, and it's nowhere near as underpowered as the numbers would suggest, because there's a fuse I'm sitting on right now on this 48-volt battery pack. That fuse is 125 amps. 125 amps at 48 volts is 6 kilowatts. That's 8 horsepower. That is the maximum fused output for all 5 mowers. That's terrible. Now, it doesn't feel that underpowered, but there's a reason Ryobi does not advertise the power figures for this mower. I still have a couple of small things left to do to this mower. I need to order a new state of charge display to replace the one that I broke. I need to put the plastic back panel back on the mower, but first I need to trim it to fit around the charger. I need to order a new chute because I broke that one off, and I need to sharpen the mower blades. But aside from those little things, I've got a functioning mower again, and I'm sure my neighbors are very happy about it because my yard has been becoming a jungle over the past couple of weeks. If you have one of these Ryobi zero-turn mowers and you're wondering what it would take to lithium swap it, don't be intimidated by all the work and money I just put into my mower. What I did was overcomplicated and totally unnecessary. I just did it because I enjoy this sort of thing and I wanted to play around with some of those components. The easy and cheap route for lithium swapping a Ryobi zero-turn mower is drop-in replacement lithium iron phosphate batteries. They're 12 volts, they're shaped like lead-acid batteries, they take up about the same space, and they have built-in BMSs and other battery management circuitry. So all you have to do is take them and put them where the lead-acid batteries used to be and change nothing else. Even the charger will work the same. That's the cheap and easy route. And they're not terribly expensive either. They're $250, $300 per battery, and you need 4 of them. So that is what I suggest if you want to do this yourself. Don't go to all the work that I did, unless you enjoy it too. I call it the horseless carriage. Whoa.